Hello, and welcome to another look with Christian King. Today I'm here to do my UFC 231 recap show. These fights were awesome. We had a great time watching them. In North Carolina, then up in the mountains, we got hit with for at least for our area, which you would consider a pretty major snowstorm. The power actually went out during the fifth round of the Joanna Jędrzejczyk-Valentina Shevchenko fight, but we were able, fortunately I still had really good cell service, so I was able to use my data to get on UFC Fight Pass app on my iPhone, and we were able to finish watching the fights without any issue, so we didn't miss anything. We only missed a few minutes of the fifth round of the Joanna-Valentina fight, so that was good. These fights were great. I'm really proud of my picks, a few in particular, which don't worry, I will be sure to brag. So let's get started. Let's get right into this. Okay. And just so you know, I know there was a few weird things that happened on the fight cards, and there were some blatantly illegal knees, a questionable stoppage or lack of stoppage in the Bracatona-Matthew Lopez fight. I'm not really going to waste too much time getting all angry about that. Both those mistakes were made by the same ref, who in my opinion just isn't a good referee, and he just doesn't have the experience to be reffing at this high of level of MMA. So I don't think it's something to be worth wasting all our energy over. I'm going to focus on the great fights, but just so you know, I did notice those things. I'm just not going to waste my energy going on and on about them. It's a waste of time. Okay, so we're going to work our way. So we work bottom up for the preview. For the recap, we work top down. So let's start. Max Holloway. I picked him to win a unanimous decision over Brian Ortega, and if Brian Ortega's corner had been foolish enough to let him keep fighting, I do believe that's what would have happened, but his corner wisely stopped the fight along with the advice of the doctor. Actually, I think the doctor had more to do with it than his corner. I would hope Henry Gracie was thinking about stopping that, considering how close he and Brian Ortega are. Brian was getting beat up real bad in this fight. He had an okay minute kind of in the middle of the third round, but that was really about it. Other than that, he just got completely outworked and outpaced. And, as Max Holloway says, he likes to take people into deep waters and drown them. That's basically what he did here. Brian Ortega, there's this saying in fighting where you say someone is too tough for their own good. That's Brian Ortega. I'm really glad the doctor stopped that fight after the fourth round. He never even got dropped, and that was the record for the most significant strikes to the head that and everywhere else, but especially to the head, that anyone has ever absorbed in one fight, and he never even got knocked down. So he's crazy tough, but I'm really glad the doctor stopped that. What can we say about this fight? It's kind of what I saw coming. I kind of figured that it'd be really hard for Brian Ortega to get Holloway down. All of my questions, my preview show was really just based around we don't know how healthy Max is, and that's true, so I didn't really want to get, I still picked Max, but I didn't want to waste too much time. I was pretty afraid this fight might get canceled at the last minute, so, I didn't do a super in-depth preview of this, but, there's a reason I picked Max Holloway to win. The blessed era continues. What's next for him? Honestly, I feel like he won't be as successful at 155. I just think it's a harder division, and he's more likely to run into guys that can hold him down. I would hope not, but I feel like that could happen potentially. I heard a few people saying they would favor him to beat Khabib at this point. I'm not entirely convinced of that. I might pick him to beat Tony Ferguson, but I would worry about Tony Ferguson's submission game, although it can't be as dangerous as Brian Ortega's. I'd probably pick Holloway to beat Ferguson. I don't know if I'd pick Holloway, and I would definitely, for the record, pick Max Holloway to beat Conor McGregor in a rematch. I would pick Max Holloway over Conor easily in a rematch, and I would pick Max Holloway over Poirier, that would be a rematch too, and I would pick Max Holloway over Ferguson. I would not pick Max Holloway to beat Khabib, and I would not pick Max Holloway to beat Kevin Lee, who we all know I'm super biased towards. He's definitely my favorite. But yeah, I would pick Kevin Lee to beat both of these guys pretty easily, honestly, especially Ortega, but I would pick him to beat Holloway too. All right, so let's move back down the card. Valentina Shevchenko defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk via unanimous decision over the course of 5 rounds to capture the vacant women's flyweight title. I picked Valentina to win a unanimous decision, and the fight was exactly what I expected, other than the power going out in the 5th round. The power going out in the 5th round was the one thing I didn't really see Joanna being able to pull off. I didn't know she had the power to make my power turn off at my house, but other than that, she didn't have a whole lot of success in the fight. Valentina won this one pretty easily, and I'm not going to waste too much more time talking about it. It was a great fight, but there's just not a whole lot to say about it. It was exactly what I expected. Before that, Gunnar Nelson defeated Alex Oliveira via rear naked choke in round 2 after splitting his forehead wide open with a disgusting elbow, and that saw, as the choke was applied, blood squirted out of his forehead like something out of a horror movie. Pretty gruesome. The ref was already moving in to stop it just from that cut. So good job by Gunnar Nelson. Good fight by Alex Oliveira. He's wild. He definitely gave Gunnar Nelson a little problem in the first round. I picked Gunnar Nelson to win by submission in the first, and he actually got pretty close, but then he got a little too over aggressive and went for submission over position, lost the position, was able to recapture the position and improve upon it in that second round and get the finish. Good stuff from Gunnar Nelson. Cowboy is crazy. The fight, the ending was strange. The ending to the first round was really strange. I wish I could remember, so I'm going off of, I took a few notes like I always do. The end of round 1 had a really weird ending to it, and now I feel dumb that I brought it up because I actually can't remember what was so crazy about the end. I think it was just that they were tangled up in a really weird way, if I'm remembering correctly. But, it was a good fight, good comeback win for Gunnar Nelson. Tough loss for Alex Oliveira. We'll see. Both these guys are going to hang around at this 170-pound division. 165-pound division is not coming anytime soon. Sorry, folks. We can all keep hoping for it, but it's not happening. They're not going to ruin the lineage of the 170-pound division by putting a weight class 5 pounds below it. But with that being said, something people forget about is that there are some divisions in the UFC that do not have a lineal champion, and 170 is one of those. 170 does not have a lineal champion because Georges St-Pierre retired and vacated the belt, so the lineage of that championship is already ruined if you want to be technical. Georges St-Pierre also ruined the lineage of the 185-pound belt by beating Michael Bisping and then vacating it, and if I'm not mistaken, the light heavyweight belt does not have a linear champion either because John Jones never actually lost a fight to lose this. So yeah, he's technically the lineal champion of light heavyweight because he never lost. So anyways, we can get into that all day long. But before that, Hakeem Dawodu defeated Kyle Bochniak via split decision. I picked Kyle to win a split decision. He ended up losing a split decision. It should not have been a split decision. It should have been a unanimous decision. Definitely Hakeem... me and Hakeem definitely won all 3 rounds handily, or at least the second 2 very handily. The first one's a little debatable. So what is there to say about this fight? Well, first off, when I picked Kyle to win a split decision, I'm sure y'all remember this, I said that it was a wish pick. It was a fan pick. Me and my wife Caitlin, we love Kyle Bochniak. He had a bad night. That's all it is. He had a bad night, and he'll be back, and we still love him. That's exactly what we said to each other that fight. We're like, we still love Kyle. He's still our guy. He just had a rough night. But I am going to be a little harsh on Kyle for a minute, and it's very hard for me to do. I'm going to need a little bit of coffee to muster up the energy and the courage to insult someone that I love so much. So, all right, here goes. Kyle, playing with his damn shorts the entire fight. Listen, this is a big problem that fighters have. I'll give you a great example. Renan Barão touching his nose. Renan Barão touches his nose constantly during fights. And you can always know when he's going to do it, and you can literally time attacks based on knowing that he's going to touch his nose. And that sounds silly, but you really can. And all the times that Kyle kept reaching down and pulling on his shorts, he kept pulling his shorts up like he was hiking them up, like as if he was about to take a really big step, up onto a platform, and he wanted to make sure he didn't tear his shorts. But these are fight shorts, so they're not going to tear. You don't need to mess with your shorts before you throw a kick. And the weird thing, he wasn't even throwing a kick after he messed with them. It was just a tick he had. And a lot of times, so when I use the word tick, if you think of someone who has Tourette's, they have tics. They might blink their eyes. Actually, Ryan Hall, who's a really good MMA fighter and an amazing jiu-jitsu practitioner, he actually... back in the early days of his career, he actually defeated a good friend of mine with a TKO, got him in a triangle and was just elbowing him. And he also is he's just a cool dude, won the Ultimate Fighter, really good jiu-jitsu guy. And so what everybody might not know about him, and I didn't learn this until he fought my buddy in Charlotte, North Carolina years ago. It was probably at least 5 years ago now, 4 years ago. But Ryan Hall has Tourette's, like mild Tourette's, if I'm not crazy. If not, then I think it is definitely Tourette's. Yeah, he spoke about it a little bit better. And his thing is he blinks a lot. So that's what I mean by a tic. Someone might blink a lot. It doesn't have to be like in a movie, or I mean in real life too. Some people have tics where they yell things, but I'm just talking about really minor tics that sometimes even just anxious people have. I used to click my pen a lot if I was taking a test in school, and teachers would tell me, "Hey, stop clicking your pen. You're annoying people." So his thing is I guess he pulls on his shorts, and that can become a habit in sparring. You can get used to these little tics that you do during sparring. Maybe he wears, maybe sometimes when he comes to the gym, he just wears like basketball shorts and they're a little low. So he's gotten in the habit of playing with them during sparring. And now it's a tic that he can't get rid of. It was a big problem in this fight. That might sound silly, but all the time that he spent distracted messing with his shorts, Hakeem was hitting him. And he would see Kyle reach his hand down, and then he would throw an attack to the head on that same side. I mean, he was absolutely taking advantage of this weird short thing that Kyle kept doing. I don't understand it at all. It really frustrated me, but I will say, Kyle looked good in the first round. Part of why he looked good in the first round is because he was circling to his right a lot, which was avoiding the power of Hakeem, which I liked a lot. Hakeem is super fast, though, so that's the problem. You can only, circling away, you're still going to have to stand your ground and throw shots at some point, and that's when Hakeem was lighting him up. But I've already spent way too much time talking about this fight, to be honest. It wasn't a great fight. I'm just a big fan of Kyle, so I wanted to give a good say on this one. So let's move on to the fight before this, which in my opinion was the fight of the night. I'm not sure how it didn't get it. I hope both of these men got some backdoor checks for this one. I know Thiago Santos did win a performance bonus, but they both deserve bonuses in my opinion. Thiago Santos defeated Jimmy Manuwa by knockout in the early portion of the second round. So what can we say about this? So first off, I picked Manuwa by round 1 KO, and it almost came true. I was almost right. And what did I say in my preview show? I said, I hate picking fights with dudes like this. I hate picking Thiago Santos fights. I hate picking Jimmy Manuwa fights. I hate picking heavyweight fights. And I hate picking light heavyweight fights. I just absolutely hate it. And this is why. Because I made a good pick, and it almost came true, and then it didn't. And initially, I was going to go with Thiago Santos to get a second or third round TKO. I wish I had done that. I changed my mind, and I paid for it. Fortunately, I didn't put any money on this, so, who cares? So what was my thoughts on this fight? So about 30 seconds into this first fight of the pay-per-view, I decided that was a good investment of $70. So that fight, really, I could have watched just that fight, and I would have still felt like I got my $70 or 65 plus tax worth of fights. But I got that one, and then 4 more awesome fights after that, 3 in particular. So, definitely got my money's worth. I felt like I got my money's worth before we were even done with the first 2 minutes of this fight. Almost got it right, the pick. It was a crazy fight. So one thing I liked that Jimmy Manuwa did in this fight, he usually is a very heavy attack from his left side only. Left knees, left hooks, left kicks. He was working his right elbow beautifully in this fight, and he hurt Thiago Santos several times, okay, with that right elbow. I really enjoyed seeing Jimmy work that in. With that being said, the problem is that Jimmy Manuwa has a bad chin, and not just a bad chin like when he gets hit by really heavy hitters, but he just doesn't have a great chin in general. He was getting hurt pretty much every time he got hit, and you got to feel for Jimmy, man. He's first off, solid dude, great athlete, great competitor, respectable guy, and he's so skilled, and he's so aggressive, and he has such potent offense. But with those little gloves on, no matter how good or not good your defense is, you're still going to get hit. And if you don't have a good chin to take a shot from a big man, and all you're fighting is big men because you're a big man yourself, it's just a losing recipe. And you got to feel for the guy. I don't think he's, it was only 2 years ago, I believe, that he and Daniel Cormier were having a little back and forth, and we thought Jimmy Manuwa might be on the verge of a title shot, and now we couldn't be further from that. I don't think Jimmy Manuwa will ever get a title shot, and I hate that for him because I'm a fan of the dude. I like watching him fight, and he lays it all out on the line when he goes out there. He laid it all on the line in this fight, and those shots that he took in this fight, that'll take that'll definitely take some years of quality life away from him, and you can think I'm exaggerating all you want. I am not exaggerating when I say that. A fight like that takes years off of your life, or at least quality of life. And man, you got to feel for him because he puts it all out there and then he doesn't get the winning result. And to be honest, I feel like it's downright insulting that the UFC didn't at least give that the fight of the night. I felt like that. I'm being a little dramatic there, but come on, man. Jimmy Manuwa doesn't deserve a bonus for that fight. He put his heart and soul on the line, and he almost won, and it was an absolute insane, awesome fight to watch. Not so much to analyze because it was really wild, but it was an awesome fight for the fans. I really hope that Jimmy Manuwa got a backdoor bonus on that one. Man, I can't imagine going through a fight like that not getting a bonus, so somebody give the man a bonus, please. All right, so now we're going to start. We're still working our way backwards. We are now in the prelims, the Fox Sports 1's prelims, and this is the pick that I'm the most proud of. I picked Nina Ansaroff to defeat Claudia Gadelha by unanimous decision, and a lot of people so I listen to other people's preview shows. I do mine on Sunday. I know I've been over this before, but just for the sake of repeating it again, I do my preview show on Sunday, which part of me wishes I did it on Thursday because then I would have seen how healthy how healthy Max Holloway looked, and I would have been more enthusiastic. But the fact of the matter is that if I want to be able to put my opinions out here and people to know that this is all me and that this pick is all me, I've got to do it before other people. When you've got top analysts putting out their shows on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, if I come on and I make picks Thursday night, how am I not going to be how are people not going to assume that I'm just using other people's thoughts? And also too, I might accidentally get influenced by someone, and I don't want that to happen. And I'll give you an example of that real quickly. I listened to a show called Heavy Hands, and I have a lot of respect for Connor Rebush and Zane Simon. They're great analysts. They were favoring Joanna Jędrzejczyk to win this based on volume, and they started to influence me. And that might have messed with my pick because I was so confident in that Valentina fight. And when I heard them saying that, I was like, man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Joanna, maybe they've got something here. Maybe Joanna is going to just out-volume and outwork Shevchenko. Not a chance. Not even close. Didn't happen at all. So that's why I make my picks on Sunday. So I am super proud of this pick. This was my pick. I took Nina Ansaroff to defeat Claudia Gadelha via unanimous decision, and I was right. And she looked excellent doing it, and I felt great about my pick since since the fourth minute of the first round. At the fourth minute of the first round, when she'd survived the takedown and gotten back up to her feet, and Claudia was already taking a deep breath, I knew that I'd made the right pick. And I didn't see a whole lot of other people picking her when I watched the shows later on in the week, and she was a huge underdog. And, I'll say it one more time, very proud of that pick. I saw it coming. I knew how it would happen, and I felt that Claudia couldn't keep the pace. I felt that Nina would outstrike her and cruise to a decision, and I was exactly right. Very happy to be right about that one. It's good when you feel like you're onto something and then you're actually right. It's a good feeling. Before that, Gilbert Burns defeated OAM, Olivier Aubin-Mercier, by unanimous decision. 30-27 times 2, 29-28 times 1. I picked OAM to win a unanimous decision, so I was wrong on this one. You can't be right on all of them. I will say, Gilbert Burns looked really good in this fight, and I want to point out that should make you say credit to Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker from Australia knocked him spark out in the first round. Just absolutely whooped his butt, put it on him, knocked him out. And Burns looked excellent in this comeback fight. So that really tells you, Dan Hooker is legit. He's fighting Edson Barboza coming up, and I might be picking him in that fight if I do a show for it. We'll see. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and slide this little thought in here. I'm not going to be doing a show for the UFC on Fox. I probably won't. I might, but I'm picking Kevin Lee to beat Al Iaquinta in the rematch. Just want that on the record. And I think he's going to stop him possibly. He'll at least win a 5-round decision, but he might even stop him. That's my pick for that fight, just so you know. I might come on and talk a little more about it because I love Kevin Lee so much, but I just don't feel like there's a whole lot to break down in this fight. I think Kevin Lee's just better at this point. I feel like Al is still kind of the same guy, but Kevin Lee is so much better than when they fought 5 years ago. So yeah, Burns won that unanimous decision. OAM, he looked okay, I guess, but just kind of got out-muscled. His striking is less powerful. His wrestling is less powerful. He's just kind of a less powerful athlete. I was really counting on Gilbert Burns being pretty chinny and gassing out from bad weight cut. That was kind of what I was counting on in this pick. And that loss to Dan Hooker really made me think that was a possibility because of how easily Gilbert Burns got knocked out and hurt in that fight. But clearly he's doing something a lot better now. All right, we're going to move on to the next fight, which I did not make a pick on in just a second. All right, Jessica Evil Eye defeated Caitlin Blonde Fighter. Yes, I know, it's a terrible nickname. Blonde Fighter, really? That's your nickname? I don't like it. Yeah, Jessica Eye defeated Caitlin Chukagian by split decision. 29-28 times 2, 28-29 times 1. So one judge gave it to Caitlin. I have no idea who won this fight, and I didn't pick this fight. I didn't pick this fight because both women frustrate me. So here's what I'm going to say. I was super aggressive, and Caitlin actually kept her jab out there, which made me really happy. I like to see her do that. She had good... Basically, I was the aggressor. I was the bull. Jessica Eye was the bull. And Caitlin Chukagian was the matador. And she tried to counter. She kept the jab out there. But honestly, I think because the significant striking and grappling were so equal, then the next criteria of scoring you're supposed to go to is aggression. And that was Jessica Eye. So I agree with the split decision. Jessica Eye afterwards, though, gee, calm down. She just gets so worked up on the microphone. She's one of those people who thinks that, like, everybody's plotting against her and everybody hates her. Nobody hates her. Nobody's plotting against her, I promise. Like, we all respect your skills. I have a hell of a lot of respect for her. I said in my previous show she can be a head case. She absolutely can, but so can a lot of elite fighters. I mean, there's something crazy about people that want to fight for a living. So, I've got a ton of respect for her skill. So if she thinks that people, that everyone who talks into a microphone about fighting doesn't respect her, she's wrong. I respect her a lot. And you know what else I think? I'm obviously, if she fights Valent, first off, I think Jessica Eye deserves the next title shot. Jessica Eye deserves the next title shot. Absolutely. If not just based on her 3-fight win streak at flyweight, but also based on her previous history at flyweight before she came to the UFC. So all of her bad parts of her career have all been at a weight class 135 where she's undersized, and that was the only weight class the UFC had available to her. So I'm not going to hold that against her. I think that she should get the next title shot, and I'm going to tell you something. I think that she will give Valentina Shevchenko a better fight than Joanna did. I think that Jessica Eye will be very aggressive and use a heavy boxing attack to really go after Valentina and test her. I'll probably pick Valentina to get that win by decision, but I think Jessica Eye is going to take it to her. I think it'll be a great fight. I think it'll be a great spectator fight, so I've got all the respect in the world for Jessica Eye. Okay, so before that, I wishfully picked Eric Anders to KO Elias Theodorou, who's so annoying, in the first round. And I prayed for it. I hoped it would happen. But I told y'all on the preview show, it's not a smart pick. And I told y'all on the preview show, Eric Anders being the favorite was really stupid. And whoever made that odds line should probably be fired from whatever casino or gambling website they work at. I felt like that was just common sense that Elias Theodorou, as sure as Tuesday comes after Monday, Elias Theodorou is the type of guy that will frustrate a guy like Eric Anders. And that's what happened. Eric Anders almost got him in the second round, but Elias is sneaky, he's clever, and he can take a shot. He really can. And he just used his weird, frustrating, strange MMA skills to win a split decision. And honestly, him getting rocked like that really bad and hanging in there, I hate to say this out loud, but damn it, Elias. You won a lot of my respect. I already respected you, of course, because you're a badass dude who's in the UFC, but the way he hung in there and he didn't look for a way out when he was super rocked, man, that makes up for a lot of the other stuff he does that annoys me. I'll tell you that. Next time Elias Theodorou fights, you might even see me pick him. I know I said I would never pick him because he annoys the crap out of me, but I think I might have to pick him next fight. He earned a lot of my respect in that fight, man. Not that he cares at all about what I think, but he's a tough dude. He's not just a good-looking dude who's whiny on social media. He's actually a really, really tough guy, so good for him. It's a good fight, and he deserved that win, too. As a split decision, I didn't think there was anything split about that decision. I knew for sure that Elias Theodorou won 2 rounds to 1. I was positive of that, and that was how they called it. So, before that, we had the Fight Pass Prelims, okay? And I didn't really watch these super thoroughly, to be honest with you. So we're going to work down them. Okay, I watched Brad Catono defeat Matthew Lopez by unanimous decision. I agreed with the scoring. I had said that I didn't make a pick in any of these fights, just so you know. So none of these, I didn't make any picks. I said that Matthew Lopez might be the one I would pick if I had to make a pick, just because he has more UFC experience, but he seemed to get tired way worse in this fight than usual, and Brad Catono seemed in even better condition than usual, if possible, which is crazy because he's actually cutting 10 more pounds than he was before, but he looks even more conditioned, which is usually that extra weight cut will make you more likely to get tired, but that guy looked tireless. I think he could have fought 3 fights. I mean, I think the dude could have done 9 rounds of MMA and been okay. I mean, he's got a gas tank for days. People were saying at the end of the fight they thought Matthew Lopez was out from that. I don't know what type of choke that was. Maybe that was like some type of modified Darce, something like that. One of those type of Darce chokes, and I don't think Matthew Lopez was out. I mean, because he got up, and then there are people like, oh, well, he just rolled over onto his back. I think he was just exhausted. I don't think he was unconscious. Now, he had the ref helping him up to his feet. You can't do that. The guy has to get back to his feet on his own power in order to get to the judge's scorecard. So I do understand the controversy on that part, but if anything, that would make it a TKO, not a submission. I don't think he was out from the submission, and I'll also tell you that I don't really think, part of it is like, so people might say, oh, well, Matthew Lopez didn't get right to his feet. Well, also, too, he might not know that he has to. He's tired. He knew he lost that fight. I think he just wanted to lay there for a minute. If the ref had said to him, Matthew, you have to get up right now, or I'm going to say that you're unconscious, I think he would have just stood up faster. So I don't think he was out. But so before that, so Brad Catono looks really good, but, there's a lot of really good guys at bantamweight, and I just don't think he has the power. I don't think he has enough power. Bantamweight has a lot of really hard punchers, and I think he's going to find a lot of trouble up towards the top of that division if he gets there, just based on the fact that he'll be the less powerful striker in almost every matchup in that top, other than maybe like a Dominic Cruz who doesn't hit hard. But, okay, before that, Diego Lima defeated Chad Laprise with a perfect left hook. I mean, I say perfect. Honestly, it really just made me sad. Chad Laprise, I don't know what he's doing, man. I think I don't know. It's weird. I think he was better suited at 155, but here's the problem. Then he moved up to 170, and now he's put on weight and gotten older. So now to go backwards down to 155 could actually be very detrimental for him. But he keeps getting knocked out, and I don't mean to be disparaging, but he just keeps getting knocked out cold, and that's not something good to see from a young fighter. I'm worried for him. Diego Lima is not a hard puncher. He's not a knockout artist, and to be honest, if Diego Lima had lost this fight, he would have been cut from the UFC for the second time in his life. So he's not the type of person that Vincent Luque, or I'm messing up that name, Vicente Luque knocked out Chad Laprise, but Vicente Luque knocks people out. Diego Lima doesn't knock people out. He wrestles people, or whatever he does. Honestly, he's lost all his other fights in the UFC, so I don't really know what he does well because he always loses. But good for him. He was really happy. His post-fight interview, like backstage one, was really touching because he was so excited. But let's look at this real quick. So he had won 3 in a row via TKO at one point, but they're against Guti, Brian Camozzi, and Galore Baffondo. None of those guys jump off the page at me. Before that, he'd gotten lost to Ross Pearson and knocked out by Francisco Trinaldo. And then recently, he's been knocked out cold by Vicente Luque and knocked out cold by Diego Lima. This is not a good sign, and it's worrying. He is only 32 years old. And coming off the Ultimate Fighter, when he won the Ultimate Fighter Nations, the 170-pound weight class, and then moved down to 155, it looked like he beat OAM, by the way, to win that season. The guy we talked about before, Olivier Aubin-Mercier. I thought Chad Laprise might have a really promising future at 155, and now it seems to me like he's just the guy up at 170 who can't handle the power coming back his way. And the problem is he's a striker. So his game is striking, but then when he hits people, it doesn't hurt them the same way it hurts him when they hit him. And it's kind of like the Jimmy Manuwa thing, except honestly it's worse because at 170, people are a lot faster. So he's going to get hit more. And people throw more volume at 170. So I'm not sure where his career's going from here. I'm sure the dude would beat the living snot out of me. So, I mean, I'm not disparaging the guy, but I'm just worried about if he's ever going to be able to reach that potential that I thought he had coming off a tough The Ultimate Fighter Nations Canada versus Australia when he won that season. I expected a little more from the rest of his career, and unfortunately I don't think that the rest of his career is gonna lead him towards a title shot or anything like that. So, I think he should take. He's got a really good team. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's at TriStar. If I'm wrong, sorry. Either way, though, if he has good people around him who care about him, they will get him to take a good break. At least, I think after these past two being knocked out cold 2 fights in a row, I think he needs to take at least 6 months with no head contact, no sparring, no nothing for 6 months. And I don't want to see him back in the cage for at least 1 year. I don't want to see this guy fighting until the end of 2019. I don't want to see it. He needs some time off. And these are human beings. They're not action figures that you just bang together. They're human beings. So he needs some time off. Before that, Diego Ferreira defeated Kyle Nelson, TKO. Kyle Nelson was a guy coming in on super short notice. Nobody really thought Kyle Nelson was going to win, and to be honest, he looked really good in the first round and decent into the second round, so I would say that Kyle Nelson's life only gets better from here. He's now he's in the UFC. He got paid more money than he did in fights outside of the UFC. Promise you that. And I mean, there's a few guys that make more out of the UFC than they do when they move to the UFC, but not him. So he made probably the best payday of his career so far. He actually had a really good showing. He had less than a week to get ready for this fight, and he actually did pretty well against a guy who's highly respected in the weight class. So good for Kyle Nelson. I'm going to click on his name real quick because I want to see. They don't have much on his record, but I'd like to know. He is 5'11". What I'm curious is he a featherweight who moved up to lightweight for short notice, or is he actually a lightweight? Because if he's actually a lightweight, then that's tough because that's a really stacked division, and it's really hard to stay in the UFC as a new guy. He obviously, for taking a short notice fight, they'll definitely give him one more fight, but if he loses that one and he's at 155, they'll probably cut him because it's such a stacked weight class. There's so many people in it. But good on Diego Ferreira. To be honest, I think he should have, I feel like he should have been able to get the first round submission against a guy like Kyle Nelson, but I think he got a little strike happy, and to be honest, I didn't watch the fight super close. So then, first fight of the night, Alexander Ratchik defeated Devin Clark via TKO at the end of round 1, hurt him with a very awkward back fist, and then was able to follow it up with kind of those punches you throw kind of through the armpit area when someone's turtled up and you're throwing the punches in between their arm and their lat and hitting them in the chin. So kept sneaking those punches in once he got him down to the ground after he was hurt with that back fist. The only real thing in this fight that's majorly worth noting is just the fact that Devin Clark hit Alexander Ratchik with about 4, at least 3, possibly even as many as 5, at least 3 very illegal knees to the face. But I am actually here to defend Devin Clark. You might say, wow, why would you do that? Devin Clark is clearly a dirty fighter. He clearly was throwing illegal knees. Well, I'm going to explain something to you. When you have someone in a front headlock and you're looking at their shoulder blades. So your eyes are holding the front headlock, your eyes are looking down. You don't have x-ray vision. You can't see through their body. You are looking at their back. You can't tell if they have their hands on the mat or not. The ref's job is to tell you he's grounded, he's up, he's grounded, he's up, he's grounded, he's up, as many times as the ref needs to. The ref did none of that. And then Devin Clark threw the knees, and the ref didn't tell him they were illegal. So that begs the question, how on earth, short of having x-ray vision, would Devin Clark have known that they were illegal strikes? The answer is he would not have known because it is impossible to see through a human being's back to see where his hands are touching. So that is the ref's fault, not Devin Clark's fault. So we don't need to add insult to injury. The guy lost a fight. He got basically knocked out, TKO'd, and we don't need to add insult to that loss by then calling him a dirty fighter and saying that he's a cheat, because he's not. He had no way of knowing those were illegal, and it is the ref's stinking job to tell him what strikes are legal and what strikes are illegal. So that's all I have to say about that. So, great night of fights. Back to the top. Max Holloway is the man. Where does he go next? We're not sure. We'll have to see. Valentina Shevchenko is the woman. Where does she go next? To hold that belt forever, probably, at flyweight. She's amazing. I don't see anyone beating her. If Jessica Andrade came up to 125 and challenged her, that might be interesting because of the power, but I don't see too many people giving Valentina Shevchenko problems. I think Jessica I deserves the next shot, and I think she'll give her a good fight. What's next for Joanna? I would like to see Joanna fight Caitlin Jukagian, and I'll tell you why. Joanna said for now she's going to stick around at 125. So there's no point in wasting time here. If Joanna is going to, let's see, Joanna is now 31, okay? So there's no point in wasting her time. She doesn't fight super often. So there's no, as most high-profile athletes don't fight super often. So there's no need to waste her time by making her fight people that are, a Priscilla Cachoeira, for example, or a Nico Montano, no offense to the former champion. But I think that she should fight Caitlin Jukagian, because if she's going to stick around at this weight class, we might as well go ahead and pit the two losers from tonight up against each other and see where it goes from there. Because if Joanna can't beat Caitlin Jukagian, or if Caitlin Jukagian's size gives Valentina problems, then she probably needs to go back down to 115. So I feel like rather than wasting a bunch of time, we can match them two up and we can get to the bottom of things real quick and figure out whether Joanna belongs at this weight class or whether she doesn't. So that's all I have. These fights were great. I'm going to get this posted up. Might do a little something on the last UFC on Fox this Saturday. I might do a little something on the top 3 heavyweights in boxing right now and how they all match up. Obviously, the heavyweight division in boxing isn't going to have any movement for quite a few months, so there's no need to rush that one. I've been going back and watching the fights. Just the other day I watched Fury versus Klitschko and then Joshua versus Klitschko. So just kind of going back, watching through some fights, thinking about how those top 3 guys, Fury, Wilder, and Joshua, match up with each other. And yes, I said them in that order because I believe that Joshua's lack of challenging himself with tough opponents earns him the number 3 spot, in my opinion. I cannot say that he's the number 1 heavyweight when he is not fighting the other top heavyweights. So that's all I've got. I loved this UFC 231 card. I hope you did too. I will talk to y'all next time.